Hello, welcome everyone. Today we're talking about a very special and important topic, our relationships, how they've been influenced by COVID and everything we've been going through these past months, which has been so changing our lives and influencing our lives so dramatically, and also our couple relationships. And if you've been feeling any need to improve your relationship, if you've been feeling any stress in your relationship, then you're going to get so much benefit from this conversation, because I have with me today my dear friend Amanda Green, who is a certified emotionally focused therapist for couples, a full-time couples counselor in private practice with 22 years or more of experience. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tal Mandelbaum. I'm an emotional, cognitive, and social psychologist, and I've also been teaching spiritual principles of connection in relationships. So together, we hope to share with you some great insight and maybe some things you haven't heard before about how to take our relationships and really make them a place for safety and for getting our confidence up and for really supporting us through these changing times. So, hi, Amanda. So glad to have you here.
Hello, Tal. It's nice to be here with you today and making this clip to share some more about what's happening with us these days with COVID and our couple relationships, and to talk more about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And you work with couples all the time, and I'm sure you've been seeing how they've been affected by everything that's going on. So, why don't you share with us a little bit of what you've been seeing, how couples are affected, how they're coping, what's really happening from your perspective?
Mhm. Yeah, the biggest change I've seen since COVID happened is burnout from doing double duty with kids at home, learning from home, uh, one parent or both parents trying to teach kids and also juggle their full-time job. Sometimes everybody's at home together. Sometimes one parent is home and the other one is working outside the home, which also creates its own kind of issues because that parent who's at home kind of doing that double duty on their own all day, at the end of the day, is exhausted and overwhelmed, especially if there's kids who are stepchildren and there's a blended family happening, sometimes a very new blended family that's come together recently and the months just previous to COVID. And so they haven't necessarily gotten to know their new stepchildren as well as they maybe would have liked to, in just terms of building trust and connection with the kids. Now they find themselves in this role of disciplinarian,
Hmm.
and that's challenging to say the least for people.
So would you also say that like all of these pressures or added pressures, also with all the uncertainty in the world and all the decisions that need to be made around it, would you say it's also putting pressures on the relationship, like between the man and woman, or whatever the couple is, but would you say that it's influencing that connection as well?
Definitely. Yeah, some partners are experiencing a lot of anxiety around COVID, a lot of concern about making sure they follow all the guidelines and all the restrictions, and do the vaccine and all of those things. And then some partners are maybe more relaxed about it and not as anxious and that type of thing. So that can cause some dynamics in families,
Mm.
just around how do we juggle this, and especially again in blended families, because there's a whole other household and you can't control what happens in the other household. And so your social bubble that we're told to stay in, you can't really manage it. And a lot of times it's not even in your control. So people do feel, I hear that a lot. It's out of control. It's out of control.
Yeah, that's amazing because if there's something that we've all been feeling is that we have less control, right? We have less control about our lives, about will we be able to go to work tomorrow or not, about what's going to happen. Like this whole period of time is really taking control out of our hands. And I think that's the general experience for people right now. And it's interesting what you say about how not having that sense of control is maybe what's bringing out a lot of the tensions. Even subconsciously, when we feel pressured or not in control, it's harder for us to maintain our positive connection to our partner and to stay calm and to be able to cope with little annoyances that maybe normally we would. And it's kind of raising the level of everything, and maybe making us more prone to lash out or to be cranky and that sort of thing. So I've heard of a lot of people who, because of COVID, have been spending more time with their partners and more time with their family. And that's had some pluses to it because there's more time to talk and to get to know each other. Like you said, if you haven't done that. On the other hand, it's also difficult because being in each other's faces more also brings out more of the difficulties.
Yes, that's so true. Sometimes the closer we get, the more the differences or rejections or conflict erupt between us. And so when that happens, we know from emotionally focused therapy and a lot of the research around that some of us tend to want to turn toward our partners and talk about whatever's going on, sort things out, kind of get to the bottom of it and put it behind us. While probably the other half of us tend to want to turn away from the conflict and therefore our partners, because we associate the conflict with our partners. And so that can get us into a real vicious cycle where we are, some of us are pursuing for connection, pursuing for resolution. And when we see our partner kind of turn away and turn to maybe a lot of other things to try to cope with the uncertainty and the lack of control right now, that is a trigger. So
what have you seen people turning to? You mean like television or internet and that sort of thing?
Lots of screens, whether that's Facebook or Netflix or pornography or gaming or fantasy football or all kinds of things online. I'd say a lot of screens that we're kind of turning to because we can't really go outside the home as we used to in the past, and sort of have distractions from the intensity that we may feel when we have conflict at home. There's no outlets anymore. The outlets are kind of gone.
Yeah, exactly what I've been hearing, that, before, even if there was some tension, then we would take like time out, we'd go out, we have friends, we each have our hobbies and whatever, and then things would just be easier to cope with. But when you don't have that place to run away to or to like just kind of shift your mood through, then it's much harder to get away from the relationship. But here's where I want to say that maybe this isn't such a bad thing. Like maybe what's really happening is that we're being pushed to look at what's not really working as effectively in our relationships and to really look at that and see it very clearly without being able to run away from it. And maybe that's happening so we could improve our skills, improve our relationships. You were talking about the need that some of us have to get support from our partner, from our relationship, to be able to cope better with the uncertainty through the relationship. And that's maybe what we're missing, that education or the skills, the tools that would make our relationship a place of safety, of confidence, of mutual support. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yes. When we have these conflicts, which are inevitable, when two people come together, it's like two worlds coming together. We often think we're kind of perceiving the world, both of us standing back and looking at reality, which is over there, and we think we know how it is, or we feel we're right in our own perception of reality. Whereas actually how it is it's more these two perspectives coming together. So it is really an opportunity to get to know each other and start to work with the differences, I guess, in a new way that can lead to all kinds of potential and possibility in the relationship for connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what you and I talk about a lot, what we work with, and we both feel, I think, very passionately that there is potential in relationships that we have not tapped into yet as a culture, as society, as humanity, that there are new levels, like deeper levels of connection that are still untapped. And if we only knew how to access them, how to really access that level of connection that is possible within a couple, then we would find so much energy and joy and love and connection and really, I would say, fulfillment within our relationship. And in a way, I feel that this is a kind of higher guidance, kind of showing us that we don't have to go very far to find our satisfaction and our fulfillment, that we can discover new areas between us and even at home with our partner that we've not yet been able to find, and then discover like new worlds in there and a new like this abundance of joy that we haven't yet really known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the walls that we feel are between us, or the gaps sometimes that we feel between us, can appear that way, but then depending how we work together and relate and respond to one another, the walls can kind of transform into bridges, let's say.
Mm. Yeah, that's, I was kind of getting carried away with the big potential in relationship, but I think it's enough, even as a first stage, to improve the parts that aren't working, or the places that are hurtful, the places that we feel are just like not satisfactory, and that is so possible. And I just think that the more, like the higher that we aim, the more that we see our relationship as a place that has like really great potential for spiritual growth, for personal growth, for everything that we want, the more we'll be able to invest in it and understand how important it is, and also then fix the things that aren't working as well. I think today, because there's so much divorce and so many people giving up on relationships altogether, not wanting relationships, we really need like this higher goal, this higher purpose in relationship.
We really need also to work on it, I think, together. This is the other piece that we're trying to build together, Tal, is to bring couples together, right? So often we try to work on our relationship in isolation and think we're the only ones going through these things, when in fact we are all going through very, very similar things. I can attest to that after years and years of working with couples. It's very, very similar with little tweaks. So if we could come together as couples and support each other, and build sort of community between couples, that is also, I guess, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that to me is really the call of the times. I mean, COVID has been separating us and isolating us and putting us each in our homes alone. But I think it's kind of teaching us why we need each other and how to recreate our connections outside of the home in a new way, in a more positive way, in a deeper way, and to make us really value that sense of community that we may feel that we're lacking during COVID. It's like taking something away from us so that we can really look at it and value it, and then recreate it in our lives on a better on a higher level in a better way.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I totally agree that the more we support one another in our growth, the easier it is, because we're so influenced by everything that's going on around us, and you can really feel it. I mean, you go on Facebook, you go into the social networks, and you're constantly bombarded with messages and ideas and feelings. And it's like we're living in this network, and it's constantly influencing our moods and our thoughts. And so on all levels, we need positive environments to uplift us and to help us even maintain the work that is important to us on our relationships and our personal growth, and keep us on the right track. And it's so easy to go online and get really sidetracked, and like you feel your vibration kind of going lower and lower as get into content that is fearful or stressful or whatever.
Mhm.
So we really need these positive connections today to lift us up and help us move forward.
Mhm. Being connected at home right now and in our sense of community, even if that's smaller than maybe it was before, can really make all the difference in coping with COVID going forward, as it looks like COVID is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and I think COVID isn't the only thing that is, stressing us out. There's a lot of change in our world. There's the climate, there's all these things happening. And I talk about it a lot on my Instagram and Facebook, how these changes in the world are really the signs of changes within us that want to happen, and how we relate and how we live our lives, our values, what we find important or less important. It's all an invitation for us to change. And so I think that being part of environments that support us in this change is very essential.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Support us
So
in this internal change, right? That you're
yeah.
talking about. It's going inside. And,
Yeah, it's like the difference between just kind of being rocked by everything that's happening from side to side and stressed out and afraid, to actually like taking the reins and wanting to align yourself with the transformation our world is going through consciously, and doing it together with others, and actually like reshaping ourselves and our environments in a positive way to fit this new world that wants to be born. And I think that is like the amazing thing that we have in our relationship and all that we learn together. And I wish that every human being on this planet would have that feeling that they're not alone, that what's happening to us may be scary, but is really a good thing if we use it correctly, and use it to improve our relationships, to improve our connection to each other and our communities.
and face it together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Amanda, I've been wanting to ask you this question. I think we talk a lot about consciousness, and we're just saying how important it is to be aware of why things happen, why is COVID happening, how do we use it for our benefit. So, when you think about a conscious relationship, being consciousness, bringing consciousness and awareness into our couple relationships, what does that look like to you? What is a conscious relationship to you?
Yeah, well, one thing is, I guess, not so much having the attitude of like what's in it for me in my relationship, as much as how can I get to know and relate to my partner, and sort of put my partner first, which sounds as though we might kind of lose something out of that, but also in a conscious relationship, I think we realize that at the end of the day, we actually end up with a lot more, and receive
Why? I mean,
a lot more fulfillment that way.
how does that happen? Like, how does putting my focus on my partner or their needs make it better for me as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, with one couple, they loved my analogy of a garden. I talked about how actually this wasn't a couple, this was a single person, a male, a man, and I talked with him about tending the garden, and which is giving to his partner, and minding her best interest kind of thing, and how that's like planting and caring for a garden, fertilizing it, watering, etc. And then you get to enjoy the garden. You benefit, you see the flowers, you eat the vegetables or whatever it is, that's in your garden. You build this environment around you when you nurture your partner, and then your partner nurtures you back because they are fulfilled and they are healthy and well. So it becomes this sort of like a pay it forward kind of an idea for for those of you who maybe saw that movie. It's you yeah, I won't repeat it again.
That makes so much sense. And it's a beautiful analogy, that we need to take care of our partner for them to be full enough so that they can pay it back, or they can be their best selves for us. I think we're often so afraid of doing that. We're so afraid of, we feel like we have to protect ourselves. We have to fight for what we need and fight for what we want and fight for our opinions or demands or whatever it is. And we're really afraid of putting the focus outside of ourselves. And so it's so interesting to make that flip and see how that actually creates a kind of flow between you, where when we are focusing on ourselves, it's like you're strangling the energy. You're not allowing it to flow, because each partner is focused on getting more of the love, right, and the attention and the needs met and all that for themselves. And then there isn't that synergetic kind of flow between you, which happens when you're focused on loving the other person. And this is an amazing shift, I think, in perception and thinking that is so necessary in our culture today.
Yes. Like I was saying earlier, we're so focused on being right in our relationships and then bending our partner in our own direction to kind of please us and suit us and fulfill my needs, and so this is a 180 from.
And then you would get the partner who has like the bigger ego or the stronger will kind of dictating the relationship, and the other one making a lot more concessions or being less dominant in the relationship. This is what I've seen, where it's a kind of battle of wills, and the stronger one it succeeds, kind of like in the jungle, right? And what we really want is something very different. We don't want a struggle. We want a communion.
Yes, because even when one dominates or may on the surface appear to kind of be winning, if there's a power struggle, even when one may appear to be winning that, nobody can go forward, unlimitedly just getting the short end of the stick, so the resentment, I guess is a good word, builds. And you spoke about, I think, being cranky or something, so that we get cranky, it leaks out sometimes, where it shows up is maybe in the bedroom and dampens desire. And so when one of us loses, I guess in a relationship, what I'm trying to say is we both lose. It has to be a win-win in order for us to have a sustainable, healthy, fulfilling relationship.
Yes. Another aspect that I love about conscious relationships is really to allow each partner to be who they are in the relationship, and to kind of have this attitude of curiosity about getting to know my partner, who they are, what they need, what they want, and listening to them more deeply, and not to try to change them to be as I think they should be, but rather for both partners to give space to the other to be who they are, and then to work on ourselves to be the best gardeners, as you said, to help each other be the best and to bring out the best of ourselves. And then that's how we get a relationship that's really growing, where both people are growing and supporting each other's growth, rather than being in that ego struggle or power struggle.
Mhm.
which is very draining. And so many relationships just end up not working because of
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Right. We end up maybe leaving a relationship or concluding that, well, my partner's the problem. So if I just leave my partner, I'll be able to build a better life with someone else. And what we find is we just repeat the patterns in new relationships and find ourselves oftentimes back where we started, but with someone else, because we have the same approach or the same attitude. So,
Yeah. It's so sad that we don't learn these skills, right from the beginning of life. I think women should be teaching it to their babies in the womb.
mm,
Honestly, we should be teaching how to connect, how to love, how to accept. And babies learn from their mothers in the womb. I talk about this as well. And we should be teaching it to kids and to grow into adolescents. It should be part of the curriculum at schools, I believe, because I don't think there's anything more important in our lives and our relationships, and we are not really taught the rules to love. And you and I talk about this, that love has rules. It's just like in nature, everything has there's a pattern, there are rules to it. Things don't happen randomly. And even nature, that's a very harmonious system, is able to be that way because there are certain rules that are being obeyed. And then on our level, the human level, even though we're part of nature, we don't know these rules. And we, especially in our relationships, we end up just making a mess of things. And then we see relationships that don't work, and societies that don't work, and a world that doesn't work. So it's such a pity that we're not learning these important principles.
mhm. Yeah, we should make it as part of the education curriculum starting from the beginning, right? How to
Yeah.
how to relate, like you said earlier. We have to relate in our relationships to our partner as they are, or not as we want them to be, or want to kind of mold them, in some way. We have to relate to our partner as they are.
It's interesting just now when you said we have to relate, it just came to me that what we usually do is that we're both like usually we're completely centered on ourselves, and then we're basically having a relationship with ourselves because we're triggered by
Right.
things our partner is doing because of our own patterns and whatever we brought into the
So
relationship.
true. Oh, Tal,
And
that is,
yeah, so we're not really relating. We're just constantly we're just reacting to
yeah.
the other person. And what we want to be is relating, which is something else.
Yes, yes. As strange as it may sound, we often don't really know our partners exactly as they are. We have our sensitivities, or what we call in EFT raw spots, where we get triggered and we see things based on our own pasts, or maybe some trauma that we might have faced, or something from the past. And if you really slow the conversation down and explore with your partner what's happening for them when they show up a certain way on the surface of the relationship, it's something completely different. The intention is something completely different. The motivation is something completely different. And so we assume we know what's going on inside of our partners, when most of the time we're really quite wrong. And on top of that, we often don't even really fully grasp what's going on inside of ourselves at the same time. I'm speaking about myself here too. So
It's true. It's true for all of us because none of us were taught these things. We just
right,
end up learning it as we go
right.
through our mistakes and through like the really difficult and painful experiences we have to go through in relationships, only to realize that we need to learn new skills, new tools, new ways of perceiving relationships and learning how to love another person in a way that we've never been taught. So it's so natural for us to make these mistakes even over and over and over. And then we need these environments, like we were saying, these platforms. And let's talk about what we've been working on to allow more people to learn these skills and these tools.
Right. Yeah. So what I found was there's so much demand for couples therapy right now. There was before, but it's just people are having trouble finding a couples therapist at this point. And I so wanted to find a way to offer everybody who contacts me something, you know, and maybe be more, help more people. Um, anyways, we've put together a couples course, Tal and I, and it's called Consciously Connected. It's going to start on October 17th and run on Sunday mornings from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be consecutive Sunday mornings. And we're going to share some of these rules of love that Tal was talking about earlier, make sense of how we're getting stuck in these cycles where we just feel lost and disconnected and don't know how it happened or why it happened over small things. Sometimes it feels like small things that happen. So we're going to try to make sense of all of this and share how to have a consciously connected relationship.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is we're also aiming to create an environment of couples that support each other and just being in a kind of growth orientated mindset where we can just kind of put away all of the stressors and all the things that have been hampering our relationships of late and really grow together within this kind of container to support us. And like Amanda is saying, we're bringing a lot of experience and many years of learning about the higher laws of love and relationships that we haven't ever been taught before. And I'm really grateful to have this knowledge, this wisdom in my relationship, in my life. It's really helped me a lot. And I know that it's going to benefit so many people. I just really want this information, this knowledge, and these tools to get out there. And I feel like now is really the time to improve our relationships. I think there's never been a better time to invest in our relationship, especially because we're home together more, and it's like the basis, the foundation of our world. It's what gives us safety. It's what gives us confidence. It's what gives us support in these uncertain times. And like we said before, it's also where we can really grow and align ourselves and connect and really know ourselves and our partner in a whole new way. And I feel that is what the gift of this very difficult time really is to us. It's really an opportunity that we have to make the most out of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So often I'm asked or I'm told by couples, I don't know what to do. It seems like no matter what I say or how hard I try, or it doesn't work, I just don't know how to move forward in a positive way. And this is what we have to share. There are solutions. There are approaches or attitudes that we can embrace and that can heal our relationships and move us forward together, really on the same page, on the same team. And we're very, very excited to be sharing these.
Me too. And I can say as a psychologist that with everything I've learned, we're really bringing something higher into this course that can really help, even if you've tried things before, even if you've been through other methods. This is something else. It's something special. It's something that I've experienced to be the best, the most authentic wisdom about how to create healthy relationships that I've found. And I know that it can make a difference for anyone, even if you've tried things before and they haven't worked. This is different. I feel and know that 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. So, Amanda, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. It was an amazing conversation as usual. And if anybody wants to sign up and get more details about our course, there's a link together with this video. You can just click that link and you will find it. Or if this is on Instagram, just go to my bio and it's going to be right there. If you have any questions, then don't hesitate to ask in the DMs. Or Amanda, do you want to give your email or somewhere where any people can contact you?
Sure. My website is korukouplescounseling.com. And so that's spelled KORU, couples with an S, counseling with 2 L's.com. And just go to the tab at the top that says couples course. It'll all be there.
Great. Okay, so thanks so much, Amanda. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Tal. I'm so looking forward to meeting you all, whoever are interested and want to continue with us on this journey to make our relationships the best they can be and to learn together.
Me too. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.